Yo, happy 2024, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to each and every one of you. This video, we're going to take a look at 2023 World of Warcraft, the kind of year that it was for World of Warcraft, and then how things are shaping up in 2024, 2025, 2026, and beyond. This video was supposed to be made, actually, final days of 2023. Sadly, we had a bunch of issues, bunch of family members over. The house was just full of people. And this is really the first day that I have time to really sit down and sort of formulate my thoughts. So I apologize for being a little bit late, but I promise the video is still going to be fun. Now, I don't think it comes as a surprise to anyone that 2023 was a very good year for World of Warcraft. All things considered. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, but Akalon, didn't you make videos throughout the year, last year specifically, calling out some of the failings and, aren't you a little bit annoyed at the story and so on and so forth? And yeah, you are absolutely correct. There were fumbles. Absolutely. But I think what is important to keep in mind is that no one is ever going to be perfect. There is no such thing as a game that is just going to do everything right every single time. Every game, everywhere, every company has had moments of failing, and that's just how it goes. And it's also probably very important to note that what is failure to one person isn't necessarily failure to another, especially in an MMO. Those storylines that I really, really dislike, I guarantee you there are people that loved that storyline that had no problem with that particular storyline in that particular way. And you know what? That is perfectly fine. I'm just here to, point out what I don't like. And some of you will agree, some of you will disagree. I don't really care about that. But all right, so let's take a broad eye view. If 2023 taught me anything about Blizzard and about World of Warcraft specifically, it is that Blizzard's fear, the old Blizzard, the Blizzard that was so afraid to make any sort of change because maybe everything falls apart and what are we going to do if everything falls apart? That Blizzard is dead. Instead, the new Blizzard is one that is willing to do everything, and I love it. I love the fact that they are willing to go outside their comfort zone. I mean, to be fair, there's some stuff coming in 2024, especially next week, that already proves that we kind of have the old Blizzard back that is saying, you know what? Let's try some stuff. Let's see what other games in the genre is doing really well, and let's see how we can incorporate that into our game. And we're going to get to that. But look, it is true that for the majority of the gameplay in Dragonflight, it was incredibly stale and sort of almost blueprinty. It was sort of like a formulaic, I think is the best word to describe it. It felt very much like Blizzard had found this formula that worked, and they were just making variations of that formula. I think towards 10.17 or maybe even 10.2, that's when it sort of started to dawn on Blizzard that this isn't sustainable. People were very excited with Zaralak Haven. People were very excited with the isle that we went to with the sort of mini Torgos thing, whatever the hell that was called. People were slightly less excited for the Time Rift stuff, even though from a lore perspective, there were some cool Time Rifts there. But it was slightly less hyped, I guess you could say. And then when Dream Surges came around, most people were just sort of like lukewarm on the whole thing. And I think that was around the time that Blizzard realized, oh, wait. Okay, so clearly this formula isn't working. We can't just keep doing the same stuff over and over again and expect players to keep enjoying it. Clearly, players do want some variation. And I will give it to Blizzard. If you haven't yet, please go to the Emerald Dream. Go do some of the world quests there and just look at the variation, the variety in world quests. It's not that Blizzard have fundamentally reworked world quests and it's now completely different. It's that the balance of world quests, I think, has become a lot more fine-tuned. So it feels a lot better because you have a great mix of kill quests, collect quests, fly quests, whatever the case may be, right? You have a better mix of quests, and this makes the entire experience feel a little bit better. And that's one of the, I guess you could say, successes, or one of the upsides of having this formulaic approach. You can refine the formula. And I think in Ten 2, Blizzard really did refine their World Quest formulaic formula, if you will. So I'm looking forward to what the future is going to hold for that. From a story perspective, I'm still going to maintain that I think Dragonflight in many ways did drop the ball, even though I will not sit here and pretend like Dragonflight had the worst story ever. No, that remains a Shadowlands claim. But no, it had a great story. It just sort of never really got anywhere because it kept ending in power of friendship stuff, which I personally don't like. I'm just not a fan of that. But you may, and that's fine too. What I will say is, when you look at the questing and the story of Dragonflight, I want you to imagine two tiers of storytelling. There is the main storyline, pre and post patch, let's say, and then there is the side story, pre and post patch. What I mean by pre, I think that should be self-explanatory, but in case there's someone going, whoa, what did he just say? Pre means anything during the leveling experience. Post means anything after the initial launch of the game and the first patch. So once the first patch comes, that's post-patch. Everything else is pre-patch. Just to make it a little bit easier to follow. Pre-patch is perfect on both main and side quest storylines. Absolutely brilliant. The story, I think, this time around is probably one of the better stories ever presented. And when I say better stories, I don't mean the actual story. I mean how the story played out. The level of detail that was paid to the story and how the story played out. In side quests as well, just by the way. The side quests felt also so much more complete. There were actually compelling side quests. There were actually side quests that made the world feel more alive and made you want to play that side quest rather than it just being an exclamation mark that you have to finish so that you can get the achievement for the zone. So, and this is obviously just for people that read the quests. Anyone that just does the quest, you wouldn't know what the hell I'm talking about right now. And that's perfectly fine. This is about lore, mostly, this channel. So, clearly I'm going to focus on that. But pre, everything is perfect. It's in the post where things sort of start falling apart for World of Warcraft. And funnily enough, not on the side quest stuff. So the Blue Dragon quest line was a sideline quest. It was phenomenal. Although I think it may be a little bit unfair to call it a sideline quest because it was the main quest for a patch, but it was still side. It still didn't have anything to do with the major storyline. So that's why I'm still going to call it sideline stories. It was still a side quest for the most part. That was done absolutely amazingly well. The Bronze Dragonflight quest line was also done really, really well. I can't say that the Veranoth stuff were good. They were not good. So that's where it's done. But that's again part of the main storyline. You see, that's the thing that I don't quite understand. The tier storyline, also a side quest, which is phenomenal. Absolutely well done. And I felt the pacing felt really organic and natural. Obviously, I would have loved to play the entire storyline from start to finish in one go, but that's why alts exist. So you could do that and get the whole story in one go. But no, I felt like all of the side stories did really, really well. And I think the reason it did so well is the side stories have a clear beginning and end. Blizzard knows exactly where they want to begin this one and where they want to end it. And they have a set amount of quests and a set amount of time and a set amount of cinematic budget to make that a reality, and then they do it. The problem with the main storyline feels a lot more sort of patched together with whatever there is time for. And I've said this before. I made an entire video on this, so I'm not going to bore you guys again with this nonsense. But, well, it's not nonsense. It's absolutely the most intelligent stuff you'll ever hear. But I've said it already, so you don't need to hear it again. But I just feel like we need to see a bit of growth there going into the next expansion. I want to see the main storyline post patch also be paid as much attention as it is pre-patch. So hopefully that is something that Blizzard does, and they're already well on their way doing that with the fact that we now have 3 expansions planned, and it's good overall. But then let's talk about some of the absolute knock it out of the park, big brain stuff that is coming, and I'll do this as quickly as possible. We now have the new AI follower dungeons that's launching literally next week. By the time you watch this, it will probably be this week. Now, that is huge. It's something that should have been in the game for a really, really long time. We have dynamic flying that's coming to the whole world. We also have some kind of roguelite thing that may or may not be coming this expansion, or this patch, or maybe even next patch. We don't know yet. There's not been, as far as I know, a lot of information on that, other than a data mined bit of thing about that. So we'd have to wait and see for that. And then, of course, we have the evergreen stuff that the delves that is announced for the War Within. Sorry, wow. For the War Within. All of this points to, at least for me, to a Blizzard that is now, again, not afraid to take risks. To go all out, go for the throat, steal from companies if they're doing something that you think you can do better, and then iterate on that and actually make it better. I'm looking forward to what dynamic flying is going to look like in the next expansion, because I can almost guarantee that there's going to be some variations and some tweaks here and there to make it better and to build on that system. I'm very much looking forward to the delve system. I think, ladies and gentlemen, if 2023 proved anything, it is that Blizzard were lost and now they're found, and things can only get better from here. That's it. That's the video. Thank you so much for watching. To all of the patrons, thank you so much for your $1 a month. It keeps this channel free from sponsorships that want to sell you stuff you do not need. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, be kind to each other, and I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.